What's up, people? It's another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best new metal adjacent podcast from two dudes who are really there. I am one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM, Tim Anderson Jr. Tim, how are we doing?
Great. Fucking freezing, but great.
Yo, what is with this fucking weather? Well, at least we're not getting snow. So we're supposedly not getting snow, so which is kind of nice.
Good with
Uh,
that.
and and joining us this week, we have John from the band Concrete. John, thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
All
man.
right.
It's a couple people actually were like, you need to get someone from Concrete on. I was like, oh, I know John. I'll hit him up.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude, I talked to you, excuse me, like what on Ill Street like years ago, didn't I? We had you on.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
A
God damn, that was forever
couple
ago.
records ago. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're a slightly different band now.
Dude, I'll tell you what though, getting right into it. I seen I seen the record come up and I was like, oop, I added that and I was listening to it work and I was like, holy shit, this is heavy.
Yo, that shit is heavy.
Thank
Like
you.
ridiculously heavy.
Yeah.
That's what we're going for.
It's
Awesome.
fucking mean too, man.
Yes, good adjective, Tim. Good adjective.
Yeah, I was really enjoying that, man. I some when did you guys sign on all Upstate?
Um Around sometime this summer, this past summer, we were shopping the record for a while and then it made sense to go with Upstate and so yeah, we started planning it a while back. The record's been done for 2 years. We just kept running into problems. So it's really cool that it's coming out now. And we've the nice thing about it taking so long is we had time to write other stuff and get other things. So we're gonna just be popping out releases for the next couple of months.
Oh, good shit.
That's awesome. Tim and I talk about this almost every episode. We're convinced with attention spans being the way it is these days, that is your best bet is just a single, another single, an EP. Wait a bit, tour, single, single, because otherwise, I mean, you get lost in the sauce, right? Like I don't understand how bands can have an album done and say, yeah, we'll release that in like 7 months. Like, yo, people have forgotten by then.
Yeah.
That was a lot of the struggle behind this. It was like it's been years. The last record we did was we recorded it like the week before everything shut down. And
Okay.
then we released it in the middle of it all thinking, oh, well, people are booking shows again. Like, let's go and do this. So we released it, but then nobody heard anything. So it was a couple of years of working on this record, and we finally got it recorded about 2 years ago. But then there was just issue after issue, and it took a while. But now that it's out, we can kind of keep that attention span because you're right. That's what happens. You release something, and you're good for a little bit, and then people are looking somewhere else.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and especially with, with extreme metal, it's like there's so many releases every at this point it's every day.
I can't even keep up.
Yeah.
Tim and I are in a chat group where fucking bronchitis. The running joke is Tim starts work at like 3 a.m. on Fridays. So by the time I wake up, John, I go into Slack and Tim has literally posted every album that's out that Friday. So it's nice. I don't need to do my own collecting. But to Tim's point, it seems like in that channel every day this week there has been at
Yeah.
least another single or an EP or something that's been released. It almost becomes overwhelming, to be honest.
Yeah, it's tough to keep up with. We just try and focus on what we've got and the other rush to get things out is, I might have a cool riff, we record it. I don't want somebody else pumping out that riff, after
Mm-hmm.
me and then going, "Oh, they took it." No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's the problem too, because there's so many fucking bands, man. It's like
so many.
you gotta put out the material. And
And
it's
half the bands are called some version of Concrete. So,
yeah, yeah, right. It's funny, dude, like what you're saying about the riff thing and people like putting out something similar. It's just like I've had that happen before when I was in bands. I'm like, oh, that riff is so good. And it's like when I was in like a punk band, I'm like, punk is like one of the easiest genres to like not steal riffs from, but like sound very similar with. So it's like you put it out and you're like, oh God, man, I was like 2 weeks too late for that one. So I totally get what you're saying with that.
There was some guitarist who in an interview said every riff that's ever going to be written has already been written. It's just all how you arrange it. And I
Yeah.
mean, the example I use is if you go to Unsung by Helmet, you speed up that riff, say by about a quarter step, and you end up with the bridge riff for Rise by Pantera on Vulgar Display of Power. So like two albums from two completely different bands, in different parts of the country, they do sound almost exactly the same. And it's every riff has already been written.
Yep.
Right? Right.
It's how you put it together. And then I think the drums are a huge part of how it comes across because I can write a riff and the drummer can play it 10 different ways and it's going to sound completely different every
True.
time.
Absolutely.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it too, as being a guitar player, is in your hand, and like every guitar player has like their own style. Like every time, like I've been playing guitar since I was like 13. I'm 41 now, and it's like I still sound exactly the same I did when I first started playing. It was just, I don't know what it is. It's just guitar players, they find their niche, and it's just like there it is. It's kind of like when do you listen to Decapitated?
Of course.
Dude,
Yeah.
how you always fucking know when it's a Vogue riff instantly,
Oh yeah. Yep.
instantly, because the dude, it's just the way he writes. It's kind of the same with Dimebag. You just always knew it was a Dimebag riff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I think it's more in the hand than style at this point. But I mean, the difference is with Concrete though, you guys write good shit. So like, there's a shitload of bands nowadays that just write music, and you're like, oh. Like I don't
Throwing
know
it
what it
out for the
is.
sake of throwing it out there, right? And
Yeah.
we've talked about this, right? Like tough guy, beat down type hardcore. It's real easy to do it really bad. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
a very fine line between doing it well and sounding like, oh my god, is this like 12-year-old kids trying to rip off like dying fetus? And not to say you guys do a fantastic job, but to that point is it's very easy to kind of slip a little, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh
what is
yeah.
this? This is just a lifted 100 Demons riff. Come on, guys. Yeah, yeah.
Funny story about 100 Demons riff. One of the breakdown at the end of Omnia Osside. We were about to record that in the studio. Drummer had just laid down his track and he said, I think this is something else. And we went back, and of course, I had ripped off, forget what song it was now, but it was exactly the same. We're like, can't do that. So in the studio, I was like, pick a pattern, play this pattern. I'm gonna write a riff, and next week when I come back to record the guitar, we'll make sure it's our own. But yeah, I'm always worried because I didn't do that intentionally. I didn't know. Luckily, we caught it beforehand. But there's a heavy fucking riff.
Right. And so let me ask you, John, are you one of those artists who you try not to listen to other things when you're trying to come up with your own stuff because you're worried about that pollution? Like there's a lot of artists who've said like, I don't go anywhere near any metal when I'm writing because I don't want to subconsciously steal something. Are you one of those guys, or are you more like, no, I'll give it a listen and just
I go back and forth because I mean, certain things also, if I don't listen to other things, I'm not really inspired
true.
to do anything else. But that is always a big thing to me. Like I will always bring a riff to practice for any band that I'm in. Does this sound too much like this? And sometimes they're like, no, it's completely different, and I can't get over it. And I'm like, nah, we can't use it.
Mm, mm,
Um, so yeah, it's something I worry about, but everything's homegrown. So um, you kind of emulate the things that you like and you listen to. A lot of the writing is, oh, that's a cool part. Let's do something like that. Um, but not like I want to capture the same feeling, not necessarily the same notes, but like
gotcha.
this made me feel like my head was under a grinder being dragged across gravel. I want to write a riff that sounds like that,
Mm,
like not so much, oh, I want a riff that sounds exactly like this Slayer thing or something.
right, right.
Yeah. Where are you guys from again? I'm almost
Albany.
forgetting. That's right. That's right.
We got some guys in Schenectady. Just yeah, so we're all over the place, but Albany.
Now, I've asked bands this before, and I just totally forget. What exactly does Blood Blast do? Like, I know it's a nuclear blast, like I guess a sub of nuclear blast. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So
So
are they the distributor for Upstate? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so last time the last record, Free Us From Existence, we just did with Blood Blast because they're
Okay.
basically, yeah, they're just a distributor. They're not like doing a whole bunch of label stuff. They tell you, hey, these are the things that you should be doing. Um, but from there, it's up to you, you know? And then shortly after we released that record, Blood Blast and Upstate got together. So now they're the distributors for Upstate. So it's still we're still in that network, but we get to work with Mario and Kim, you know, on a local level and actually have that kind of human interaction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, that's what's missing from. You know what? Everybody that works with Upstate has said the same thing to me
Yeah,
when we've interviewed bands, that they're great to work with because you can just call Mario or Kim and they'll answer the fucking phone.
yeah.
Like that's
You are one
huge
of
for
many
bands,
bands that we've
dude.
talked to that have said that same thing. Like they're easy to partner with, which with all the other bullshit you got to put up with, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, they were always supportive of us, you know, before we ever signed with they put us on compilations. You know, like they were never like, oh, you're not part of us. You know, they were like, oh, you're part of the music scene. We're going to help out. And so it felt like a good situation for us. You know, obviously we want to go across the country. We want to play across the world. You know, we want to do everything we can, but they know a lot of the stuff, you know, in our tri-state area, you know, that kind of stuff. And being able to just talk with them and know that they were supportive long before, I know they're going to be supportive now and they're not looking to like screw us over or give us a bad deal, you know, like they're helpful. They helped us immensely already and I'm just happy to be working with them.
Yeah, I've we've spoke to both of them many times. Great people. I should seriously see how they're doing. It's been, after Ill Street, it was just kind of like I lost contact with a lot of people, but it's like, it's not like you can't just hit people up, but we should hit them up, Jay. They're
Yeah,
they're they're
yeah.
super cool,
I
actually.
made a note. I made a note to reach out on my long list of people I have to reach out
Yeah.
to. So, John, you were saying you play in another band. What else do you do besides Concrete?
I play in a death metal band around here, Intrusive.
Okay.
Uh, It's apparently there's another band called Intrusive in Connecticut that just started last year. We've been around a little bit longer, um, but we're just having fun. It was kind of the brainchild of Adam Lewis, who was the original bass player of Skinless, like
Oh,
the original. Um, so it's cool. We just, you know, we rock out in a basement in Schenectady for practice every week, and we're putting out a new record in June. We'll hit the studio for it in April, and we've gotten two out so far. It's like a doomier stoner death metal
Okay.
I
because
love that
everything I
shit.
do is some kind of stoner.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
No, no. I mean, I Tim, did you ever watch that documentary about the stoner rock stuff? The was it Low Desert Sound?
Yeah,
Did you ever
yeah,
watch
yeah,
that?
yeah.
What it was John. It's about the stoner and desert scene. So like Caius and Fu Manchu and Queens of the Stone Age and all that stuff, and how it came out of like desert parties, and it was. I mean, I loved Caius. So it was an awesome like trip to see these bands like literally they would drag a generator to an in-ground pool in the middle of a desert that was just bombed out and they would play shows and like that's kind of fucking awesome if you
So
ask me.
awesome. I get jealous of a lot of the West Coast and South stuff, you know, because I mean, fucking snow, it's ice and freezing here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, especially upstate. I don't know how people do it, man. I
It's
just don't
rough.
know how they do it. It's just one of them things. Like I went outside today and I'm like, why? Just why?
See, I'm okay until I can't feel my nose. Like I'm outside with the dogs and I'm like, uh, we gotta go in because I
Yeah,
can't feel my
it's fucking
face.
terrible, dude.
Yeah.
When I was a
I,
kid, I loved it. You know, I
Yeah.
went snowboarding and all that shit, but as an adult, and especially like with my health issues and stuff, I just can't do it as much anymore. I'd rather just, you know, ride motorcycles and smoke and play metal.
dude,
As a
that's the
as a
best
fat
life right
guy,
there.
I love the winter because I'm always hot, but there is a certain point where it goes from being always hot to like all right, this shit is ridiculous. Somebody turn the thermostat back up, right? Like there's that fine line. My wife always busts my stone. She's like, for a fat guy, you should get cold pretty easy. I'm like, after a certain point, it just dips over.
Dude, once I don't know if you know, I had a surgery a couple of years ago. I had my intestines and colon removed. I was real sick. So now I'm cold all the time. I used to never get cold.
Mm.
And yeah, it's always a battle here. I'm always turning it up. My wife's like, it's fucking hot in here. I'm like, no, it's cold. Here, feel my feet, you know?
Yeah, I know that feeling, man. That's I hear the same shit. I wake up for work like Jay said super early, and then it's like my heater will go on as soon as my thermostat sees me. It just goes on, and I'm like, oh god, it's fucking freezing here. And I have to hear her. She putting the fan on this morning. I'm like, yo, you know it's like 12 degrees out, right? Oh, I don't care. Like, fuck out of here, dude.
Yeah, it's in the 70s in our house right now, but of course, I also need it freezing to be able to sleep.
Mm.
So,
Yes, yes. There is nothing worse than trying to sleep when you're hot. Like, I understand why in sub-Saharan Africa, in Latin America, why there's so much violence. Because can you imagine being hot all the time and never being able to actually feel cool? Like, 3 months in
I'm
Africa, I would have an AK-47 and be a fucking warlord. And just to, I would be raiding all sorts of different cities just trying to find an air conditioning unit. Like I would lose my mind. I can't
Yeah,
imagine.
I don't do well with heat without AC. I'm definitely a little princess now when it comes to that stuff. Even we went out to visit my friends in Arizona, and we went to some festival in Vegas, and I just when there's no air, I was like, I'm not standing out there. You got to find me. You got to get air conditioning. I need a place
Mm-hmm.
to sit down. I
Mm-hmm.
need, but yeah.
What fest did you go to?
Um, think it was called When We Were Young. Is like an
Oh, okay.
Oh,
my
Yeah.
wife
Yeah.
is real into it. She's an emo girl through and through. And my best friend lives in Arizona, so it's kind of like, hey, we can see them and go with them. So yeah.
I was going to ask you because I know, like Jay said, we started out as a new metal podcast, and then we were like, you know what? We both listen to like death metal and all that. It's like we need to get into all that too. Do you listen to anything new, like new metal wise?
Not so much. I mean, don't get mad at me if this doesn't count, but like
Uh,
I've always been a big Deftones fan. Um, I was into Corn when I was in like ninth grade, but it never really like when Blind came out and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But um, I don't mind it. I can listen to it, but it's not my go-to.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not something you actively seek out, but you won't freak out if it's on in the background. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I freak out. The only thing I really freak out about, I can't do country. I know that
Oh God, I
upsets a
hate
lot
it.
of people, but I can't do it at all.
I can't fucking
I
stand it
don't I
either.
don't mind like real country. Like the pop stuff is like, well, this is just pop music. The only thing that literally sets me off is the Dave Matthews Band. Like
Ugh,
Also not a
God.
fan.
my idea of hell is scooping a cat litter box for eternity while Dave Matthews Band plays overhead. Like that is my personal hell right there. Like
Yeah, that sounds
That
no.
awful.
sounds like torture. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awful, right? Like I like I shake myself out to even think about it.
It's definitely just awful. So you said in the beginning the band is a lot different. What happened in between the few years that since we spoke?
I mean, it's just gone in a more metal direction. I mean, if you look from like the beginning of when this band started, it was a straight up hardcore band. And it's kind of interesting to listen to the records as you go through. It gets a little bit more metal, a little more extreme, a little more metal, a little more extreme. And in the last few years, we kind of stepped it up. We've also got we had some lineup changes fairly recently, so um, but for the best. So we're really stoked about those. That's going to be helpful and instrumental in writing moving forward because a lot of times it felt kind of alone on a lot of the stuff. So
Yeah, I mean the record before this, it was it
free us
free
from
us from exist?
existence.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yep.
I cannot believe I remembered that. But
Yeah, I'm
I
kind of
remember
impressed.
I remember because I've listened to that record recently, and it's not too off. It's not too off the course of what you guys just did. I mean, the
Yeah,
new one is definitely a lot more like blastier and all that kind of stuff, which I very much enjoyed. Like that first track I put it on, I was like, this is fucking good, man. The one thing I'm having trouble with though is how the fuck do you pronounce the title of that record?
Mortualis.
Okay, I thought so. I'm
Yep.
just terrible with pronouncing things, so I always say, Jay, how do you say this?
It's
We were talking
means
about it
funeral
last
song.
week. Okay. Yeah, we were talking about it last week. I'm like, I have no fucking clue how to say this, so next week you can just go ahead do that for me.
That was Lenny, our vocalist, came up with that. So
Lenny was in the band on that
he's
last
been
record,
from the
right?
beginning.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yep.
Okay.
So
I
me
remember
and
you
him are
speaking
the
about
only
him.
original members.
Okay. How's that been with changing members? I mean, obviously it's
Oh
easy
man,
to like get a bass player and stuff like, that's a running joke with in metal, but like did you guys get a new drummer?
we did get a new drummer.
Oh, that's
And
brutal.
that was very tough. We were great friends with our old drummer, and he's phenomenal, as you can hear. Um, but we just had some other things going on, and it was not working. I don't want to talk shit,
Fair
because
enough.
that's not how I roll. But basically, there was a lot of things that, like, for the advancement of the band, just it was not going to be able to continue the way that it was. So we made some changes, but we got very lucky. Our drummer, is John Glassbrenner. He won best drummer at the Extreme Music Awards for all the other stuff he's been in. Most recently of Pyrexia.
Oh shit,
Okay.
So
okay.
when he was out of Pyrexia, it was like, hey, we're right here. We live right near you.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Um, and it's been really awesome working with him. He's super dedicated. He's got, other connections, and it's just become like full steam ahead, and it feels the band feels fun again.
Yeah.
Speaking of the extreme thing, were you at that?
Yeah, we were.
You did you guys play?
We played the pre-party. That was
That's right.
our release show, and then the next night at the awards, we were nominated for Best Death Metal Band, which went to a local band, Invoke Thy Wrath, who's super fucking heavy. If you're into like slam and stuff like that, they also won Best Album. Our album wasn't on there yet because it just came out the day before. But yeah, we won Best Veteran Band because we've been around
Nice.
for fucking ever. And we
Nice.
got Best Music Video for Cyber Vermin. And then John won Best Drummer. Our new guitar player, Jared Weed, he got Best Guitar Player. He's
Damn.
in every band around here,
That's
filling in all the
awesome.
time. He's a guitar wizard. And then our bass player was also nominated for Best Bass Player, but didn't win.
Damn,
So
That's
that's a good
wild.
run
we
right
did
there.
well. We did
That is
well.
wild. Yeah.
So
But it
talk a
feels
little
like
bit
it's coming
about that
together,
actually.
you know?
How I this was the first time I ever heard of it, and who runs that? Is it Valenti?
Yep, Mike Valeni sets that up with a bunch of other people. Ralph Renna helps out locally and stuff, but they just use all of their music connections, and they get, it's wild. I got to see David Ellefson with, um, who was it, with Gary Holt and Brian Fair all playing at the same time, like,
Wow.
kind of mind blowing.
Yeah.
And also just very cool to like see some of my metal heroes. And like, we won that award, and it was just like, holy shit, there's Gary Holt. He's fucking all right. I was like, you
That's
know,
wild. Yeah.
one of the coolest experiences of my life. So,
Yeah, I remember seeing Jimmy. You know Jimmy Ferrari, right?
yep.
Yeah, I remember seeing him posting about it, like he was going to be like a guest judge, and I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell? What is this? Because I've never heard of it. And I'm like, this is actually really cool, man.
Yeah.
Did they film that or anything?
I mean, I took a bunch of cell phone videos, but I'm sure there's some stuff out there. Is Jay Bittner's birthday party as well.
Okay.
So he
Okay.
had a bunch of connections out there. He's drumming for half of these things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty wild, the sheer lineup of people. and a really cool thing to do for our scene because there's always these like award shows around here, and best metal band nominees are bands that like we've never heard of before. We're
Mhm.
going to all the shows, you know? So it's like who's doing this? So Mike
Or it's
decided
like
to make
Steely
one.
Dan at the Grammys. It's like, really? Really? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Jethro Tull? Really? You serious? Yeah.
So Mike, yeah, just made his own thing, so that everybody could kind of celebrate our music scene the way that it is.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. I wish I could have made it to something like that. Maybe if they do it next year, we'll have to look into that because that's probably a great
They're
fucking
already
time.
booking it for next year, so yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
probably a
make a
great
road trip.
time.
I mean, all I got family up in New York State. I mean, we can make a diversion, although they're way west of there, right? Like the thing about New York, people don't realize is that if you're not from the East Coast, everybody just thinks of the city. They don't realize that there is an enormous state bolted onto that thing, which goes all the way up to Canada, Pennsylvania, Ohio. Like it's all over the place. People don't realize.
Yeah, no, it's a big. I mean, there's lots of places in New York that we haven't played before, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
shit. You guys heading west. I mean, there's Syracuse, Rochester, up to Buffalo. You go up to Niagara, right? But even that is like what 3 hours from you, John?
uh, between 3 and 5, depending
Yeah,
on
because
where you're
Syracuse is
going.
closest. But
Syracuse
yeah,
is 2 hours. Rochester's like 4.5, 4 hours. Buffalo is like 5.
and that's going up that way. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
So, and then you know you got like Binghamton stuff in between. So it's it's big. It's tough to get out of the state, but you know, it's also just cool to have that and to be part of, you know, New York metal, New York hardcore.
yeah. Well, one of the
How
things you talked about earlier, John, is it's kind of an interesting trend. It's you said the band started out as more of a hardcore band, and you've taken on more metal tendencies. There is a massive. I mean, you're wearing a 200 Stab Wound shirt, right? A massive
Yep.
amount of bands that are basically hardcore kids playing metal music, and they fucking kill it.
Yeah.
They kill it. I mean, I was telling Tim, the guy from what is it? Jay jumps around all over Mind Force. He's doing
Yep.
Fatal Realm. They were awesome at FYA, right? This is a
Yep.
three-piece, basically slam band, right? Vomit Forth, 200
Vomit
Stab
Forth. Yeah,
Wounds, right? Like,
we all knew them from when they were hardcore kids, you know?
right,
So
right.
yeah, it's wild. I mean, I've always been into metal, but I wasn't always able to play it. And I think when I was younger, I gravitated more towards hardcore for the live show.
Mhm.
But you know, Overcast is what got me into heavy music. Without them, I would probably, you know, like I listen to Pantera and Hatebreed, but like Overcast was what I was
Right.
like, oh,
This is
this is
something.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that them what are they have two records, don't they?
They had a couple.
Yeah.
That was Brian Fair from Shadows
Brian
Fall,
Fairs,
right?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
before Shadows Fall and Kill Switch. It was those guys.
That's right. That's right.
Can you imagine how heavy that guy's dreadlocks are? Like every
So
time I see the
crazy.
pictures, like they're hitting the floor, I'd be like, man, doesn't that like I would just tomorrow he's just got to like do what Max Cavalera did and just shave that thing off because it would drive me fucking bananas.
He loves them. I don't know.
I
And
God
he's
bless him.
always had them, you know?
Yeah, right. Like yeah,
You think he would be unnoticeable if he cut them?
yes,
Yeah,
he would look like
absolutely.
just another metal dude, right?
Yeah.
Like if the three of us, Tim, if you grew your beard out, if John cut his hair and shaved his beard, if I shaved my beard, right? People would walk right. We could have New Breed T-shirts on. People would just walk right by us. They would not even
Yeah, right.
recognize us. Yeah.
Yeah, if I shave my beard off, I look like I'm 12. So my wife has said never do that. Growing my hair's been
Never do
real
that.
tough, especially like after that surgery and being sick. All my stuff fell out and then fell out again. But I do love swinging it around on stage, you know?
There you go.
It is definitely a guitarist thing. It is absolutely a guitarist thing.
Now, and you don't have to get into this if you don't want to. I do remember back a couple of years seeing like you were having some health issues. Do you mind talking about that a little bit, or you don't have to?
Yeah. I have Crohn's, a
Okay.
real severe Crohn's, among some other things, which caused a lot of problems. And I've been on every medication there is. I was in on experimental medications, and I had a lot of real bad bouts with it. and it got to the point where I couldn't eat anything, couldn't keep anything in, couldn't take anything in, was in extreme pain. I couldn't get down the
Jesus.
stairs without smoking weed. And it got to the point where they said, we got to do this. We got to take this out or you're going to die. And, you know, my response was, but I got a show booked. We're supposed to open for the Acacia strain. And they were like, no, you gotta come and do this. It was a big argument with my family and everything. And I was like, no, I got to play this show. Like, I don't get to open these kinds of things that often. And honestly, it's the one thing that really like brings me joy.
Yeah, I get it.
I want to do that above all else. But the Acacia strain got COVID that night. And so I went in, I had the surgery, show was rescheduled 3 months later, playing shows, and I'm not letting it slow me down. So
Good. Yeah, yeah.
Was
Yeah,
that the December tour
Yeah.
that they did? Tim, that's when I got it too, right? It
Oh,
was
yeah,
Acacia
yeah.
Strain, Orthodox, Kubla Khan.
Oh, yeah, I remember that show. Okay.
Was it Stick to Your Guns or Come Back Kid or one of those bands? We caught the Philly date. Tim and I caught that Philly
Yep.
date, and then I got COVID like 3 days later, and I was like, well, know where I got it. And then Adam from Orthodox was like, yeah, a couple of us have tested positive, so we're all going home. It's like,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm glad I didn't get it at that point because anything kind of wreaks havoc on I don't have an immune system. So like when I get a
Right.
cold, I get sick.
Right.
But this is what I want to do. So I'm gonna do it no matter what,
And
Yeah.
and that's and you have a positive look at or outlook on it, man, because there's a lot of people, if that happened to them, they would just give up, and it's like it's good that you don't, you know what I mean? You're still young too, so.
I'm not that. I'm older than you.
How old are you?
I'm 43. I just turned 43 last
Oh
month.
shit, you are older than me. Okay. God damn.
But at least
This is why
Tim
I'm
can't
saying if I shave my beard, I really look like I'm 12.
at least Tim can't say, Jay, you could be his dad. Like that was
Yeah,
fucking
right.
terrible. We had somebody on and he was like, I'm 22, and Tim's like, Jay, you could be his dad. I'm like, yeah, that's fucked up. But to your point, John, right? Like a life without joy is not a life worth living. So if there's something that brings you joy, I mean, consequences be damned. If what's the older I get, the more this makes sense, right? What's the point of just going through the motions? Like you're not going to get anything out of it. Like
That was it. I mean, I really I avoided it for the longest time. So when I didn't like to tell people I had Crohn's because somebody would always go, "Oh, I knew somebody and they had to have this surgery," and like that just terrified me. But when
Yeah.
it came down to the time, like you're gonna die or you have to do this, it was kind of like I can look at this in two ways. This shit is gonna happen, whether I want it to or not. I don't have control over it. What I can do is just not let it fucking kill me, not let it take me down, not let it ruin everything. And I mean, that's why I'm a 43-year-old man child who still plays metal and hardcore. I love it.
And you know what? You could be 53 and still be a man child. It does not matter, dude.
Yep. I intend to.
I am
Good.
waiting. I am waiting for all of us to get old enough that we start seeing stories of metal bands playing retirement homes because we're eventually going to see that.
I mean, you kind of have it. Ozzy's doing his thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right. Sharon, please let that guy just let him just live the end of his life happy. Like, stop trotting him out. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild shit. I mean, the dude's already accomplished how much? Like,
I
come on.
know, right? Like, I mean, I just had the funniest fucking mental picture of like internal bleeding playing like some retirement home somewhere, right? Like it just yeah, but I mean we're of the generation where we will see the first 7-year-old metal. I mean, how old is Metallica now?
They're up there.
They gotta be close to
60s?
70. I mean, I'm 47. I've been listening to them since I was 15, so
I want to say 60s or 70s,
yeah, they've
like
gotta be
late
up there.
60s
Jesus.
at least.
I'm gonna
God
look that
bless
up
them.
while we're talking because now I want to know.
Man, and just think, okay, here we go. How old is Lars Ulrich? He's 61 years old, so he's been bad at drums for 50 something years. God bless him.
At first I thought you said batting drums, but then
Oh,
okay.
I was thinking that interview where I think somebody asked James, out of the big four, is Lars the best drummer? And James said something like, Lars isn't even the best drummer in Metallica.
That's fucking hilarious, actually.
From the guy who doesn't play drums talking shit. So let me ask you, John, taking the
Yeah.
conversation a little bit differently. What's some of the stuff that you've been listening to lately? Anything new that's caught your ear? Any albums that have come out either this year or last year? Like, yo, this band is something else. Like anything that's really kind of surprised you?
I mean, I'm always surprised by bands we meet out on the road. Because, there's a lot of stuff that can sound good on a record. But when you're out
Fair.
there playing it, it's different. And for me, it's all about the live stuff. I mean, I do like the new Cryptopsy that came out was
Mhm.
good. Um, I'm a big Behemoth fan, but wasn't the biggest fan of
Mhm.
the newest stuff.
Yeah, me too, man. What the fuck is that?
I don't know, but I can't fall like I love their old catalog and everything else. Um, a lot of times I kind of go to my older, my fallbacks, and I'll listen to a lot of Cannibal Corpse stuff like that. But um, uh, most of the time when I'm checking out new bands, it's going to be on a playlist where I just hit random and I go and I listen during the day and I'm like, oh, this. Or if I see them on a show flyer or we're playing with them, I'll put them on a playlist
Mm.
because I like to know who we're playing with. And um, I don't know. I like to have fun. I like to be part of the music. I like to be a fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of Behemoth, how fucking sick is their Demigod record? God damn, that record's so good.
So good. I was just listening to Conquer All on the car ride a little bit earlier. So
Another
good.
another
He's a
ridiculous record. I forget what that record's called though. Is that
uh
on Demigod?
That
I
is
can't
Demi.
remember.
That's on
yeah.
It is.
Demigod.
It
Yeah, and
is.
then there's
I
Okay.
Apostasy and the Satanist is
There you go.
The Satanist is
Apostasy's good.
amazing. He's another guy. Like I would love to get him on, but how could we ask him questions that he hasn't been asked
You
before?
can't.
Like
Yeah.
if you listen to his interviews, he's a bright guy. Like he's a really
super bright.
intelligent, well-spoken guy, and he holds conversations like, well, this is not the type of music I would expect this guy to do. We'd get him on, and we would ask. I don't know. We'd have to tell like dick jokes for 40 minutes because like how could we? There's no
He's
way. Yeah.
he might be into it. Super nice dude. I got to meet him a couple of times, and then once Lenny, our vocalist, came with me. We went down to New York City, and I got to sit in on a sound check and talk with him a bit. And he was just super humble and nice, which is amazing because I'm always surprised when I meet somebody who's doing it at that level and they're humble and cool. Because I've
Mhm.
also met, hardcore kids in the local scene who are like, I'm too fucking cool for you. Who are you? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's so I don't know. Being a human being goes a long way. But I think they'd have fun with it. You got a sense of humor.
Yeah, he seems like a pretty a lot of those guys that play this really abrasive, aggressive music, they start talking and you're like, well, this is not like you could literally sit next to him at a coffee shop, have an entire conversation and not realize that this dude screams his face off for a living.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it would be like that with Lenny if he wasn't always telling everybody that he's vegan. So
At least is he a vegan CrossFitter that rides his bike everywhere? Those are like the alpha bosses of insufferable personalities.
I don't think so. I mean, he has been hitting the gym pretty hard this last year. So I don't know, but he will definitely let you know that he's vegan. It's his thing. So
Hey, okay, whatever.
Another thing about Behemoth. What is with the title of that fucking record? Like, what is going
that's
on
that's
here?
what kind of turned me off to it already. I was like, this is kind of corny. I mean, they've done some like crazy shit and then shit of God. Just
Yeah, like what the fuck is that?
yeah, that's kind of where they lost me a little bit. I,
It's like when who did that? Portrayal of Guilt just did an album. I think that was Christ Fucker,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
Trap
yeah.
Them did Bliss Fucker. It's like, look, I get where you're going with it, but I kind of lose a little bit with it.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
like the shit of God. It's like I don't get it, but okay. Hopefully, if the rest of the record is good, I'm cool with it. But that single was just nah.
Mm,
I
I
mean,
I
they
didn't like it.
it sounds like they've been getting a little bit more palatable, and I liked them for the extremeness
right.
that it was just like grinding, punching you in the face. And like, in the last few years with their what was the other one that I got the poster in the back there? I forget something else. Loved You at
Uh,
Your Darkest.
oh,
It
you
was
thought, yeah,
a little bit more like easier to listen to. It wasn't bad, but that's not
Right.
why I listen to Behemoth.
Right. Right.
yeah. You want demigod, yeah,
I want to get my ass kicked.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want your ears to get their ass kicked as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely hear that. So what are be before I don't we don't want to keep you all night. So what do you guys? I know you just put the record out, but what do you guys got planned for 2025?
We're just trying to play as much as we can. We've got a couple of releases that are in the works that will be announced fairly shortly, I assume. At least one of them very shortly. Um, it's going to be something with Brick by Brick, a little split with them. Uh,
Nice,
and then we got another original that's already recorded and ready to go. But this weekend coming up, we're doing a weekend with Edict, and we're going
Oh,
to be
okay.
playing out in Massachusetts and Connecticut. We've actually, in our 15 years or whatever we've been doing this band, we've never played Connecticut. And then we've got some other stuff. We're playing with Malignancy in Syracuse in March. We're playing a fest in California or Canada, sorry, Quebec in May, and just trying to pack stuff up, trying to hit Europe eventually. If not this summer, next summer. We're just
nice.
trying to get out there, pump stuff out, and try and get it in front of as many people as we can because our generally, each song is a little bit different. When people see us live, they're like, "Oh, I get that."
Right.
Oh.
Right.
Speak now since I'm a gear nerd. Talk about real quick. I'm just curious because I like asking bands this, especially in 2025 because it's so easy nowadays to bring like the super smallest rig on tour. What are you using for tour now?
So for tour now, I actually have. Let me grab this little thing here. I'm using a Kemper Profiler player.
Oh, okay.
So I was using a Kemper before, and so is my other guitar player, but this is my entire rig.
Holy shit! What's that? A
Jesus.
power
Got a
stage?
power amp.
Yeah,
This is the Kemper, tuner, and wireless,
wireless.
and that's
Jesus.
it.
And that's it.
That's all I got to
Front of
bring with
house.
me.
That's fucking amazing, dude. No cabs.
No, I mean, well, we do like to power through the cabs. I haven't actually like done any front of house stuff other than just to get our mixes, but yeah, that'll power a cab. I need to have a cab on stage, something pushing air.
Yeah,
Um, I need that liveness to it on
Mm,
stage, but yeah, we can go direct in and we don't have to bring the cabs because we can just plug that into anything. So it makes life a lot easier. It's kind of just traveling with our Anki cases and a drum set.
dude. It's funny because me and Jay were talking about this last week. Like, what we were talking about, like how it shows, like if you can tell whether a band's playing like a tube amp or they're playing through a modeler. So you're playing a modeler, but you're using or a cab on stage. So like just like you said, you're getting that air feel. But like, how would you rather be able to tour with a tube amp, or you love what you're doing now?
I mean, for just convenience, I would run with a 6505 plus.
Okay,
It's fucking heavy. I got
big
to
and it's
take care of
heavy.
the
Yeah.
tubes. I got to replace that shit all the time. And then that head is in a head case, which is also fucking heavy and takes up a
yeah,
lot of room. So I kind of got away from that and I went with just a Kemper power unit, in a rack. I was using that for a little while. And then it was even harder to lift stuff after the surgery. This thing I just fucking take with me, fits in a backpack.
that's
But
amazing.
I'm still getting the same sound. If you dial it in right, you're gonna have no problems. And we're not always playing, nice clubs. I've rocked that thing in a garage and it killed.
Can you transfer the patches from your rack unit to the pedal?
Yes. Now, that was a little bit tougher to do. So I was pretty disappointed when I first got it. It didn't come with all of the effects and everything. So different equalizers. I kind of had to make a different patch, but you can now do upgrades to make it exactly the same.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So I've done that just so that I can do, my lead channel, and I have a harmonizer on there because I'll use that for my other band as well. And I just change the profile out. So
Yeah, dude, it's crazy just how like you just picked that up with one hand and you're like, all right,
Yeah.
yeah, I can be out the
It, ma-
door.
it makes me wonder if the future long term of touring is truly just going to be artists with that type of pickup and setup. And then the venues themselves are just going to have cabinets that you're just going to plug right into, right? Like, I mean, a lot like how festivals, the drummer brings their cymbals and their snare, and
yep.
everything else is already set, and they share a backline. Like, it kind of makes sense. I mean, economically, especially like to your point, like dragging shit around, like the poor bassist. I mean, everyone makes fun of the bassist, like, but they got to drag that giant bass cabinet around, like,
Ugh.
Our bass player just dropped down to I don't know if it's a what is it? He's got like a 410 or something now.
Mm.
But it cranks, it's like 800 watts. It does the trick. He doesn't need the 810. He's got it. He's got another one that stacks, but he's not using it as much. The other thing I like about these is I'm really dumb with my gear. Like I can play the guitar, kind of. I can play what I play. I'm terrible at restringing these Floyd Rose guitars,
Ah, the
which sucks
worst.
because every band I'm in, I'm using a whammy bar. Um, but pedals, like one patch goes bad, one patch wire. You got to figure out where it is, where it goes in it. With this stuff, I'm not spending $250 every time I want a new effect
Yep.
and I don't have to worry that the connection is going wrong.
mm.
Dude, exactly. That right there is worth every penny. Fuck
Yeah,
all
right.
that,
Like,
man.
and as a fan, when there's a guitarist having a problem on stage, your heart goes out to these poor guys who are trying to
Yeah.
like figure out what cable is bad between what pedals. Like when the guys with the giant setup, it's like, I mean,
I used
I've seen bands where it basically grinds to a halt because the one guitarist is too busy trying to fix his shit.
I used to have a big pedal board with a bunch of shit. I didn't even really understand what half the stuff did. I'm I get real attracted to lights. So I was like, oh, this has a lot of cool flashing lights on it. So that's why the Kemper's been great for me. And there's a lot of cool flashing lights on this pedal. That's all I need. I'm happy.
I'm a big fan of the LED myself. My
Yeah.
entire I'm sure you could see it. It's just everywhere.
Yeah. It's
Like
I don't know, it's
it's
cool. I like what I
yeah.
like.
I picked up a Pod Go like a year ago. I fucking love that thing.
Hell
Just
yeah.
one pedal. It's got an expression pedal on it. I can drop tune it. I love that thing. It's great. A lot of people are like, oh, line six. I'm like, dude, I think the problem with people
Everybody's
is with
using
line
Helixes
six.
now.
Yeah, it's like, and you already said it. If you dial it in correctly, it fucking sounds just as good as any other modeler out there. You just got to take your time with it and just tweak it. That's it.
And I mean, the snarky response is, "Yo, if you suck at guitar playing, the best pedal in the world is not going to make you any sound any better, right? Like, I
True.
mean, if you're just
I
not
mean,
good, you're not good."
and I'm not great. I'll tell you that much, but I can fucking riff. I mean, I can't shred like fucking Jeff Loomis or anything, but like I don't really care to. I just want to play some heavy shit on a 7 string and I'm cool. Fuck it.
Yeah. And this was a step for me. So I had my 6505 plus a pedal board, then that changed to I was using a head rush unit. Um,
I've been wondering how they sound. Are they good?
it was great, but I had to hook it up with the 4 cable thing and I was still
Mm.
using the amp, so it wasn't really downsizing anything. And then I switched over to the Kemper and now these these run everything for me. And luckily, my other guitar player is a whiz with all this stuff. So I have questions about it, and he's using the same thing now. He comes in and saves the day. I just sit up there chugging, looking stupid. So,
What are you doing? He hits one button and all of a sudden it fixes everything. You're like, "Hey,
yep,
thanks."
that's it.
So Jay, ask your famous question because I
All
want to see if
right,
it stumps
all
him.
right, John. We get everybody with this question. So you are responsible for booking a tour, and you get to pick who opens for you and who your direct support. So a three-band bill, you guys are in the middle. Who do you pick to open? Who do you pick as the headliner?
Ooh.
I love it.
Um, Man, it's hard to think of who would open because we've got so many friends in so many incredible bands. Um, that's hard. I would say, any one of my friends' bands, anybody that we played with. I mean, we're going out with Edict in a couple of days. They're amazing. Mike and Brick by Brick has helped us out a lot. Invoke Thy Wrath is super heavy. Um, Damn, I don't know. We'll say local opener, and
Okay,
then
okay.
probably I would love to play with Cannibal Corpse someday. They saw them just a couple years ago when they were coming through, and it's just so good.
It is. It is.
So good. I even had so I have a bag, but as you know, I take it with a grain of salt. So I had a bag cover made that says frantically disemboweled, and it made it to them. And they were super cool about it. So yeah, I would love to rock a show with them.
It's cool. It's cool that like you look at like what you deal with now and like but in a positive way. Like it's super cool to see, man. Seriously.
It sucks, but I like I said, I've got supportive friends. My wife is super supportive on everything. I didn't have to worry about like she didn't leave me or find me to discuss it. Like, she's just,
Right.
hey, this is what we're doing now. So I
That's
can't
what
beat that.
and that's what wives are supposed to do, man.
Yeah, yeah, right. Bring you peace. Right. I have this
Yep.
argument with my wife all the time. Like, I don't want anything from you. Just bring me peace. When
Yeah.
when I'm not at work, please no yelling. But your point about Cannibal Corpse, they are one of those bands where it doesn't matter what album cycle you see them off of. It doesn't matter where they're playing. They always put on an amazing show, and it's one of those. I literally stand in the back and giggle for most of the set because it's like this is almost inhuman how they sound. And again, they're like Slayer, where everybody shows up in the Cannibal Corpse shirt, and nobody's
Yep.
like, it's the one of two bands, them and Slayer, where it's not weird to where the band's shit to the show. You're just like, yeah, it's Cannibal Corpse. It's kind of how it is.
Yeah. No, they're just so good. And to see him with I mean, Pat was one of my favorite metal guitarists. And I know he's not going to be doing anything with Cannibal now. So I was like, oh, Eric Rutan, he's so technical. You can definitely see his influence. You can tell it's him,
Mm-hmm.
but holy shit, just the tone, everything. It's still Cannibal Corpse, and
Yeah, he
oh,
Eric Rutan is a fucking monster.
beast.
Like
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah, I think the riffing on that record that he was just on is ridiculous, man.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Unreal.
It makes you wonder where these guys come up with some of this stuff, like the talent, right? Like, and even like the guys that are in, we were talking earlier, guys that are in 3 or 4 different bands, and they're just churning out material. It's like, yo, do you ever sleep?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to have that kind of ethic and to be able to. Our other guitar player is one of those. He'll just listen to something. When we got him with this band, I was like, "Do you need me to send you tabs? Do you want me to show you playthrough videos?" He's like, "No, I got it." Then he called me. He's like, "Hey, was this song done in a different tuning?" I was like, "Yeah, it's in this." He goes, "Oh, I know. I figured it out." Like, I can't do it. Hey, can you do a shreddy solo here? I can't do that. I envy it, but people like that are amazing. And yeah, I mean, that guy, our other guitar player, Jared, he wrote his own album. It's on everything. It's Futility, and it's mind blowing. I need other people around to inspire me to write. If I sit alone I may write something, but it might take me 3 years. I get in my
Mm-hmm.
head, I get depressed. But when I have people around, that's when it flows out of me.
Dude, I'm the same exact way. Like when I left the band I was like, oh, I'm just gonna write my own records. And then like I sit down to play like last night and I was just like, I hate every riff I just wrote. Fuck this. I'm the same way. Like
Yep.
if I had like my buddy Vince who I was in a band with, like playing like alongside me, the riffs would come out. But when I sit here myself, I'm just like, there's just no like,
It's
what's the
different.
word?
Well,
Yeah, there's
it's
just
different. You have
no.
nothing to bounce off of. You have nothing to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
inspired by. Like, somebody plays a riff on something or there's a drum part somewhere. It cues different things. Yeah.
It's about the feeling. Unless I'm, the only other way I write is if I obviously I smoke a ton of weed and if I got that and I'm listening and something really, oh, that's heavy, I got to go pick up my guitar. The problem with that is sometimes I'm too high to actually play, so I go and pick it up and then I get frustrated and I'm like, motherfucker, just so.
Do you use your phone on the voice record thing and just like hum some riffs into it?
Yeah, yeah, I
Hell
do.
yeah.
And then you send them to the band and they're like, "Are you in the fucking shower?" Yeah, I was. But it's just me going dun, 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 dun. And that's how I write drum parts.
Hell yeah,
So,
dude. Nothing wrong with that.
Whatever works.
Everybody does that shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like you have it at your disposal. Use it. You know what I mean? Because if you're sitting there at work or something and you're like, "Oh my god,
that's
this
when it
riff."
hits you.
Yeah, this riff in my head. I was yeah, I'll be right back. You go in the hallway and they're like, "The fuck are you doing?" And I had to
Are
do
you
something real
singing into
quick.
your phone? Shut up.
Yeah,
Yep.
leave me alone. Yeah.
So I have post-its all over the house, not write guitar riffs, but like things pop in my head. I'm like, whoa, I write it down, and then I'm like, fuck was that? Oh, and what drives the wife nuts? Post-its are everywhere.
Yeah, you do have
all right.
post-its everywhere.
It's kind of Tim has seen it's kind of funny. All right, John. So if anybody is interested in finding your band, your projects, where do they go?
You can find information about us at Upstate Records. We've got our band page on there with links to everything. We are on Instagram and Facebook and I think even TikTok, Concrete Official 666 or Concrete 666. There's a lot of concretes out there. Look for the evil looking covers. Mortualis, Free Us From Existence. We've seen some crazy concrete AI bands pop up recently. That's
Jesus
not us. If it
Christ.
doesn't make you want to, kill something or hurt yourself, it's not us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
That
seriously, man, that new record rips, man.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love it, dude.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I put it on this morning in preparation because I've listened to it before and I was like, man, I forgot how fucking hard this is. Like,
Yeah, it's
when you
really
find
good
yourself
stuff,
making
dude.
the face at your monitor, like,
That's
yeah,
that's the biggest compliment you can get. The
yeah,
stink
just
face.
yeah, just like, ooh, I'm gonna go hit something. Awesome. We on behalf of Tim and myself, we want to thank John for coming on. On behalf of Tim, John, and myself, we want to thank everybody for tuning in, watching, and listening once again. A New Breed _ podcast on Twitter and Instagram, newbreedpodcast at gmail.com. For your voicemail complaints, 267-297-4627. New episodes every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern. New reaction vids every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. Have lunch with us and watch Tim and I shit on something new. Thanks for tuning in, watching, listening, and until next week, it's Jay and Tim and everybody saying cheers.
Later.